All right, new segment time. Uh, the virus, as most people are aware of, is ravaging the world. It's affected you, it's affected me, whatever, So, what's it like being in quarantine now? If you can hear me.
Well, so, yeah, so Rona Go Home. That's my new favorite theme song. But I grew up in a really rural place, and I spent a lot of time in what was social distancing before it was known as social distancing, just because there were no people around.
You social distance before
So
it was
this is
cool.
actually not terribly emotion. It has no. It's fine. I mean, I actually, as a kid, I wanted to be in the Navy, and I always wondered what it'd be like to be in the submarines. And now I know what it's like to be in a submarine with windows, because that's more or less the experience we're all having. We got great contact with the outside world. We got our little crew at home, and of course, our little crew here. Every now and then there's a mutiny, so I have to be paying attention to the happiness of the crew. But yeah, I mean, this is and I don't mean to make light of it. This sucks. This is not fun. I mean, it's affecting people. I hate the fact that it's affecting, in particular, it's affecting the elderly in ways that just I don't like, because I think they're our most precious citizens. Which is all the more reason why we're doing this, is to protect um, the people who are elders and our seniors in our community. And um, it's also, though, it's also a time to learn a lot. And I think we're going to learn a lot in science. We're going to learn a lot in economics and business, and we're going to learn a lot about ourselves and about the people around us. And the name of the game is to be adaptive. You know, it, uh, there's a I think it was Maya Angelou said, the experience may change me, but it doesn't have to reduce me. And I think that's really hopefully what people are doing in their heads, is saying, look, yeah, there's some change here, but it doesn't have to reduce me as a person.
Hold on, let me get this out.
You sound a lot better without it on. probably can't breathe in that thing.
No, no, it's surprisingly airy. I've had a cough for the past few days. It's not a dry cough. It's actually a wet cough, which I don't know if that's worse or better.
Well, it's also, everything's blooming, so allergy season, and I get a little bit of a allergic reaction about this time of year. So
Yeah.
uh,
I walked into Walmart and I was like, went up to the pharmacy. I like, I need Mucinex, and they looked at me kind of strange. This guy came out with the mask, and he's like, "Which Mucinex do you need?" Because I could see the orange stuff in the background. And I'm like, "Well, I need something for like chest congestion, mucus in the chest." He's like, "You want Mucinex DM and stuff on the shelf?" And I'm like, "Okay, good." So I went and just grabbed it off the shelf, and have to, have them sanitize it and hand it to me in a bag from like 6 feet away.
yeah, yeah, and I was just talking to somebody earlier today that, why did it work so well in the social distancing in South Korea and Germany, and particularly in Germany, as one person had put it, the Germans just panic in a very orderly way.
I although I've been keeping up with the totals, and Germany isn't doing so hot anymore. They're over 100,000 now as well. So
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna miss the impact no matter what you do. You can reduce it and flatten it. But Germany's had probably, comparatively to some of their European neighbors, has had a better response. And the South Koreans, of course, the government says jump, everybody jumps. So um, the but it's an interesting time to be alive. I mean, people talk about this as if it's like never happened before, and yet you go back to the Spanish flu. That was an amazing uh, impact. I lost, going back through time, we know that I lost family in that particular um, pandemic, and it had a huge impact. My home county actually was one of the most restrictive counties in the United States in that thing, and really held it at arm's length. very strict quarantining, and they went back to that. It's a mountain community in the western Colorado, and they even went so far as a week ago to say if you're not a resident, you need to leave the county, and then to get into the county, you have to actually apply.
Huh.
You have to go through a process to actually get into the county. So, which that doesn't sit well with our freedom of movement, and yet in the short run, it's the kind of stuff we're probably going to have to do.
So I got the stats here in front of me. So around the world, it's at like 1.5 million people infected, and then there's 90,000 deaths. So in the United States, we're at 462,000 infected, 16,000 deaths, only 25,000 recovered though. Now the next country closest to us is Spain at 152,000. But you gotta love America. If we're gonna fail, we're gonna have to fail spectacularly because New York is at 159,000, almost 160. So even our most infected state has more infected than the next country. God bless America.
Well, and the trouble with those raw numbers is they're not adjusted for population size, and recovery rates. That's an epidemiological statistics problem. That's just a huge lag because of the 14-day deal with this disease, or roughly 14. So, I tend to, you watch the numbers, and I'm looking for the trends and the curves, but the raw numbers are what they are. And then, I'm a risk guy. So I go back and I just take the total population and I take those numbers and I always divide by the total population of the region, the state, the city, whatever. And that at least helps me put it back into perspective. But again, the impact is huge, we've got to do our very best to keep. I think the protocols rolling on social distancing. I suspect, the experts are right. There'll be another rise in the fall, and we're going to have to ride this out. And what I'm hopeful FDA is being smart about pulling some of the crazy regulations off of the vaccine makers, and let's let these scientists get to work and see what they can pull off. I have a lot of faith in science. We just got to give it a little time.
So I figured we got to go a little local here. Now Nebraska has been recently. We're kind of on the lower end of the infections. I mean, we're quite far down there, but I mean, we're also growing quite a bit faster than the other states that are below us, and it bothers me that Pete Ricketts said, "Oh, we don't need to do these big shutdowns like every other state because we're not like New York." And I'm like, "Of course we're not like New York. Do you want to be there yet, though? I mean, when's it? It's gonna be too late at some point." And it's just like, do you want to end up like New York? Do you want to end up? I mean, 159,000 people. That's almost all of Lincoln. That's a good chunk of Omaha. It's like, do you want to end up like that? Do you want to be there where our hospitals are overrun? I mean, we're already at 567, 48 new ones today alone. It's like, I think that's already too many. I think we should be shutting down.
Yeah, if you look at the restrictions, and these definitions everybody's got a little different definition. If you actually look at the restrictions, Nebraska's restrictions are pretty much in line with the norm across the country. I think one of the differences is that we probably did not have, and this is nationwide, we probably did not have a thoughtful enough approach to how to intervene in manufacturing and processing plants. That's because that's close contact work. It's the way it is. And that's probably a space where we're going to learn a lot about how to do that better. But I'm not panicked about where we're at. I'm not panicked about the numbers. I think But I think, look, if you're going to go out and spend, you're going to go out on a Saturday and get 20 of your friends together and play volleyball. Bad idea today, because you got too many people. You got a common thing that everybody's touching, and those are the things that we just need to be smart about. By the same token, we've got to keep thinking about how we're going to keep the economy healthy and get back to work. Will we get back to normal? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what normal is, but have we ever known what normal was? When I was a kid, normal was a phone hooked to a wall. When I was a kid, we wouldn't have been doing this, right? I mean,
right.
Maybe we would have been on the phone and there would have been all kinds of static in the background and you might have been able to get me over the radio waves. But so, and we've got to be thoughtful and adaptable. We've got to make the trade-offs. But this is an opportunity for all of us individually to do what we can do. And that's the first responsibility of citizenship. So if we buy into the Greek notion of what it means to be a citizen, follow the rules, take care of people, defer instant gratification for a while, but I do believe we're going to have there's good stuff in the future. It will be different stuff, but there's good stuff.
So one last question on this: how are your kids and your wife taking this? I mean, you can do most of your work from home, but I don't know about her and your kids. I mean, they're not that far from school
so
anyways.
we're able to pretty much do it from here. I mean, we are in what we call the forced homeschool program. I guarantee if you're a public school person and you want to raise money for a new school, you want to have the election the day that as soon as possible, because every parent in this country is willing to say, okay, I'm ready to get right. Our kids are actually doing reasonably well. It's tough because they're missing their social group, right? And they're as tired of their parents as they possibly could be because we're who they're dealing with. But it's going pretty well, and educationally we're actually adding some stuff to their experience, and we're being really cognizant about listening to their concerns when they have them, but we still have high expectations. We want them to do their work. We've had a lot of fun too, and I've played more board games and card games in the last 3 weeks. And that's been a good thing. We've gotten to spend some really quality and good time with our kids.
I've got nobody here. The only time I see people is Monday and Friday when I go to work, and then every other Saturday and Sunday when I go to work then. And then on Saturdays when I go and record the video. That's my only human contact other than, sending a few Snapchats here and there.
Yeah, I mean, and I do. I mean, I'm feeling sort of at times like I would like to be back with my cohort and my friends and students and being more face to face. But I've done two things. I would encourage people to actually do this: is go study Jim Stockdale, the guy that was held in for almost 8 years in a prison in Vietnam as a prisoner of war. Read Tom Sutherland's experience in Beirut when he was held captive by Hezbollah. Read how submariners handle the isolation and the 90 days under the water, floating around in a big tin can. And I just study those people. I'm like, okay, how do they do it? And a lot of it's routine. I try to keep my days more or less the same. Keep your sleep pattern the same. Eat right, exercise, and find some humor. I have discovered all kinds of YouTube comedians who are socially acceptable. If you need just a great one, Jeannie Robertson, she's about as funny as they come. And get a little humor in your life, and do some reading, and I'll tell you what, I've spent a lot of time outside listening to the birds and really getting back in touch with being on the ground in a unique way, and that's been powerful. I've actually I think gained some things that I wouldn't have gotten without this little experience.
Well, glad to see you and the kids are doing well. I experienced online classes. I would kill a person to get back into the classroom. This is awful. I'm pretty sure I'm going to fail one of my classes. And I'm like, I'm going to have to tell this professor, listen, can you just at least give me a D- to get me out of here? I can't adapt to this. I took this test. I've taken 2 tests now. I've bombed both of them. I've been putting this other one off that's due Sunday because I'm like, I can't. I shut my brain off for 2 weeks, and then now it's like I gotta jump back in, and it's crossing wires.
It's very difficult learning, and personality styles. It's the adaptation of this is really hard, and I agree. I'm not sure how we're doing with online courses, because what you miss is the opportunity to talk to a student after class when they don't understand something or when they've got a question. It's just harder to pull off because we don't have the time.
Yeah, they're hosting these online Zoom lecture meetings. It's just like, no, it's not the same.
Yeah, and it's not the same. There's no doubt about that. It is not the same.